So I took the control board here out of my Norcold fridge I'm working on, and they used a phone jack.
There we go. Why even bother?
For a connection on the PCB. I've never seen that. These switches are familiar style like the one on the thermostat. So I'll probably try and desolder and take those apart and clean them.
Damn it.
It's got a capacitor on it. It doesn't look bad, but it is old, so maybe switch that out. But yeah, this connection up here, it's straight up. I think it's a phone or Ethernet jack. Hold on, let me get this out. That's a straight up Ethernet port. That's interesting. They used that as an interface for connecting the wires up. Interesting. Yeah, here's the cable.
Perfect. What's left? There's nothing left. Unless
Just a regular old jack there. It's got this like flat silver wiring and goes up into a hole. So I took the circuit board, I tested most of the capacitors and they tested their ratings, so that's good. I desoldered the old capacitor off the board because I was uncertain about it. I desoldered the old capacitor off the board and put a new Panasonic on. This was interesting to work on because there's a really thick conformal coating on the back of these, but I took a pick and scraped the conformal coating off around where I needed to solder to get that done. On this side you can see, just like my Coleman thermostat video, these contacts on this switch, same exact design, just bigger. This one is really dirty, so that's probably part of the reason why this didn't work. I got the switch out, it's built exactly the same, just bigger, same type of contacts. The trick with this one was they bent the shield over and soldered it to the board. It was a massive pain trying to get that off of here. They did that on purpose. So I eventually got it. I wound up having to scrape the conformal coating and then heat the area up as much as I could to get the solder to melt from the prongs. Take a pair of pliers to bend it back from the solder. And then there was still solder left on the bottom that I could not heat it up hot enough to get, but I wound up getting like over here, the solder that was like just on its own pad on the PCB. I just went ahead and broke it off with the pliers. So hopefully cleaning this, putting the contacts back in, reshaping this, and getting this back together will make this work, hopefully. If I hook it in and it does work, I'm going to just probably for the fun of it, if these lights are burned out, I will see if I can solder in some new LEDs, because I have a bucket of pink ones that I got at one time, and that would be pretty cool to have a Norcold with pink LEDs. It would be pretty crazy. Have a pink one and then a red one for the warning. But anyway, that's how far I am. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I got it most of the way silver. It took some scrubbing. I can't get the last bit of staining off the ends here, but I think this is going to be way better than it was. I don't even think I was making contact before, so I'm going to put the switch back together and then give it a shot. Here's the contacts on the switch before putting it back on here. That's going to be interesting. Okay, so this should do for now. I got it together enough, re-crimped it, put it back together. It's kind of rough on the mounting side of things, but it's gonna work. It slides in between off and electric, which is what I need. I'm not gonna use gas with this, so this should be fine. It does slide over to gas, but it's kind of rough, so here and here is all I need. I'm gonna put it back together and see if I get anything. So I was going to use JB Weld for this, but I have no idea where my tubes are. I had the door catch when I closed the door and it flipped down, came out of the wall and left a giant hole and some cracks. I went and took a drill bit and drilled the end of the cracks as reliefs, cleaned it up as good as I could, hit it with by hand with a wire brush to scuff the surface. Cleaned it up really good with isopropyl alcohol, and then I went to get my Bondo out, and my Bondo is ancient, so I had to use acetone to get it back to usable condition, and then used my hardener and mixed it up very crudely. Tried to separate the chunks out as good as I could. It's terrible condition. I really need another can of that. If you want to help support the channel, I'm going to put one of these cans up on Throne Gifts. I took some of that and I put it on here, packed the holes, and smoothed it out as good as I could. That'll at least keep it sealed for right now. I did the same thing on the other side with the awning, and thankfully the screws held. So here's what this looks like. I didn't even sand it. I did the same thing as good as I could, and then I came back with my drill and very slowly threaded the screws in, and they're holding. So I'm hoping that lasts for a while. Same situation, I would have used JB Weld over here, but I don't have any on hand. I have no idea where my tubes went. It sucks, the stuff being so old. I was not able to smooth it like I normally would, so I wound up just going around the outside with my finger. Normally I would try and build it up and then smooth it as smooth as possible for ease of sanding, but at this point, like, it's not. I'm lucky to have gotten that on at all with how old this is. It's actually alive. The fantastic brand fan in the vent in the ceiling is working as intended now. All settings, low, medium, and high, and the switch works for if you close it, it shuts off, and when you open it, it comes on. Look at that. Amazing. So to get to this point, I had to take this apart to figure out how this worked. Up top, there is a little switch that depresses whenever the lid is closed to turn this off if it's not set to off. That switch, when you open it up, turns it on if it's set to a setting. Now, what was happening to me was I was not getting anything out of this whatsoever with the opener shut. I took it apart, checked the wiring that went to the switch, and I was getting voltage. I took the little switch up top and took it out, and I took sandpaper and just decorroded the ring terminal for one of the wires for the fan up here that goes to that switch. Decorroded it. I unhooked the line off the bottom of the switch and just bypassed the switch, and the fan came on. So after decorroding that and putting the switch back in, now when the switch is open, it works correctly and the fan works. That was what was keeping it from working the whole entire time, was the little switch with the plunger on it. That and the ring terminal on that cable was so corroded that it wasn't working correctly. So here's Midnight putting the hinges back on the bed platform. I found out you can pop the pins out of the hinges and take the hinges off. I'll have to get creative because they used to have struts that held this platform up, and those struts are completely dead. The radio back here in the bedroom, I had an issue with it wouldn't play through both speakers. I took it completely out and checked it and found out that the band switch and the speaker selection switches, I think, have internal corrosion. And after messing with them for a bit and messing with the terminals on the back, I got both the speakers to work. Eventually, this needs to come out. I need to decorrode all these switches, probably solder in an auxiliary cable. That speaker duplex for doing side A or side B works. And in the back, it's got an extra set of terminals I could run to the front to have an actual surround setup. So I want to do that. That would be cool. So we got the bed back together because we tore the bed apart, the platform for it to do everything under here. And we got the bed back in. We need to clean it because this was an old bed that was in this. We need to clean it and get it fixed up and get a queen size cover for it. If you want to contribute, I'll throw one of those up on Throne if somebody wants to help me out with that. The lampshade that was on this side was ruined. It was already damaged, as you can see by the water lines that were on it. It was already damaged, but when we were working on the bed initially, we knocked it and screwed it up. The ring came unglued out of it, which it's fixable, but I had the one from the front, from the light that didn't work, that I wound up removing from the front. I had that. So now we're back at lights working. They just have different color shades by a slight hint of color, and that's fine. Something not very important I'd like to do as a project later would be to run the second side of speaker terminals from the radio up to the front. First idea is to run those up to the front so that you can hit a switch and it will actually go to front audio and this audio, or back and front. I think that would be neat. The other thing would be to, if I felt extra ambitious, solder in an auxiliary port for that, but then also, so it's got the speakers here and here, and I got both of them working with it. If I can put another couple speakers like over here and over here, and then the ones up front, I could have it to where I could set it to 4 back here, or set it to a couple back here and a couple up there. That way it's like full. But I would need like a roll of speaker wire for that. The ACs, I determined that the rear AC keeps up pretty good. It draws a lot, but it keeps up really well. The one that's in the living room doesn't. It's rough. It draws way too hard. I think it's pretty near it. It may be near its end of life. I'm not sure. So that at a later date will probably be replaced with a 12-volt unit. So for right now, for the living room, it's interesting. You can turn this on, and this will actually cool the living room somewhat. So what I fixed up for the living room, I fixed up this window AC in the driver door. I made a little filler panel and put this in the door and have it to where I can stick a fan on the steering wheel and blow it this way, and it works better than the living room air conditioner did ever. And this draws about the same electricity as like an office computer because it's super efficient. This unit's impressive. I bought that back in like 2011 or something, and it's still kicking ass. That goes over here and hooks into an outlet over there under the windshield, and have the fan ran to an outlet that's in the cabinet over there. Those work perfect together.